welcome to another episode of BioLogic Science News. Today, I want to talk about the plastic monomer BPA, or bisphenol A, and a report from Health Canada documenting BPA contamination in humans. Now, before I get into that, I want to explain a little bit of the background here. BPA is a monomer used in the production of plastics, of plastic polymers. Bisphenol A is added to plastics to make them relatively tough, yet flexible and transparent. And for that, they do an excellent job. They make plastics that fit that need almost perfectly. These BPA plastics are used in a huge number of consumer products, from water bottles and food containers, to sports equipment and receipt paper, to CDs and even building materials. BPA is also a xenoestrogen, which is a chemical that organic tissues typically mistake for the hormone estrogen. It has adverse effects on the organism's development, as BPA is an endocrine-disrupting pollutant that alters the organism's hormone expression. In humans, overexposure to BPA has been associated with brain problems in children, and infertility, breast cancers, heart disease, and obesity in adults. There's plentiful research exploring BPA's health effects, and more research is currently being conducted. It's a real-time, ongoing scientific investigation of sorts. The study that I want to talk about was recently published by Health Canada, which is a department of the Canadian federal government intended for protecting public health. They have a repeated survey that measures the chemical pollutants in human blood and urine from year to year. The most recent survey was the fourth version, based on testing done in 2014 and 2015. The Canadians they tested, their subject group, was huge and varied, close to 6,000 people, with 76 years between the ages of the oldest and the youngest test subjects. This is a mass survey meant to sample a huge number of people, to project an estimate onto an even larger number of people. So it was really concerning when they found that 92.7% of people had BPA residues in their blood. And that's not just a lot. That's not just the overwhelming majority. It's a 0.5% increase compared to the BPA blood levels in 2011 and 2012. Now, this is a problem, because in 2010, the Canadian federal government had already seen enough data on the issue to declare BPA toxic, and to ban its use in baby bottles. Over the next several years, more research would get published, followed by news outlets and headlines trying to sound the alarm on BPA in food containers. Data on the endocrine-disrupting effects of BPA have shown a range of associated health issues, which are typically worse in groups with greater exposure. There have been studies that have found BPA in the digestive systems of teens and adults of all socioeconomic levels, with the heaviest exposure in less wealthy people, who tend to eat more prepackaged food, like food transported or stored in containers with BPA-infused plastic, like aluminum cans that have an internal plastic lining. This has led to some regulatory reform to address BPAs, but it's been lackluster. A program manager that was involved in the report was quoted as saying, "I think that sort of points to the inadequacy of the regulations we have on BPA. So 7 years ago, BPA was banned in baby bottles after it was declared toxic. 7 years later, we're not really seeing BPA levels going down, and that's because it's continued to be used in things like cash register receipts and food cans." Unquote. You, as a typical consumer, have several options when it comes to avoiding BPA. You can use different material in your food containers, like glass or stainless steel instead of these plastics. Avoid products that are known to have BPA plastic in them, like soups or cut-up fruits that come in these aluminum cans with this plastic lining. Furthermore, you should avoid the combination of food, plastics, and heat. The heat can cause the BPA monomers to more readily release from the plastic and disperse into your food. Some food items are even labeled as BPA-free, but these are a minority of the food items that you might see on your grocery store shelves, so don't expect to see these labels too often. They'll only become widespread when and if the public reacts strongly to the presence of BPAs in their food containers and demands stronger regulation for foods and consumer goods.